Okay, now, right. I'm Dr. Claudius Fergus. I'm a co-director of the Crossroads Freedom Project, Caribbean Freedom Project. Shabaka is our executive director, and he'll be here shortly. I'm also the chairman of the National Reparations Commission. But I'm here specifically with respect to some artifacts which were unearthed a couple of weeks ago by a descendant of the founder of this plantation, a former cocoa plantation. This site we are on was called La Reconnaissance Cocoa Plantation. In the early 19th century, it was set up by the Count Lopinot, after whom the site has been named. But originally it was La Reconnaissance Estate. So if you look at the slavery records, you'll see La Reconnaissance in Lopinot, or in the Tacarigua district, or Quarter. Quarter was the names used in those days. Now, recently, there have been some artifacts unearthed by a descendant, a great-great-grandson of Count Lopinot. This grandson lives in Canada, and he comes down from time to time to do some excavations. Some of the artifacts are there, some of the torture instruments, I call them, that they used to restrain Africans, but some of the original artifacts, cultural artifacts of the indigenous people that once inhabited this site are here. And some of the zemis that they created, you know, the zemis were the deities, images of the deities, also over there. And some of them are in pretty good shape still, right? Quite a few that I've seen, you can actually decipher what they represent, what animal or totemic animal they represent, and so on. Right? Now, we were first interested in this place, when I say we, Crossroads Freedom Project, because of the signpost that was painted there to inform visitors. A lot of schools visited this site for information. And the Shabaka brought his son one day, and he was taken aback by the offensiveness of the sign. That glorified the offensiveness of the sign, you know, that glorified the Count de Lopinot as an illustrious count, a humanitarian slave master, you know, and they talked about the enslaved people as his loyal slaves, and what they did to rescue him in Haiti, which was called Saint Domingue at the time, got him out of Haiti into Jamaica, and then he arrived in Trinidad because he had fought in Haiti against Toussaint, Dessalines, and this guy on the side of the British Army. And a number of those who did that, after Britain lost the war, or I should say, after Britain was defeated by Toussaint, a number of them were offered land elsewhere. Trinidad was frontier territory after the British conquered Trinidad in 1797. The British started evacuating Saint Domingue, Haiti in the same year. So we find Count de Lopinot here in 1806, given this site. He came with those Africans. I consider those Africans being re-enslaved in Trinidad because in 1794, the French National Assembly had issued an emancipation decree that emancipated all Africans throughout the French Empire, February 1794. Therefore, by 1797, when that evacuation was taking place, Count de Lopinot was moving with emancipated people. They ended up in Trinidad as slaves. So that's why I say they were re-enslaved in Trinidad. Most of the textbooks tell you 100 loyal slaves. But the numbers that came here, the number was about 86. Yeah, about 86. The 100 even sounds suspicious. They rounded 100, you know. So they were enslaved here. The first thing they had to do was to clear here of re-virginized forests because the indigenous people had virtually disappeared from this site. It was treated as virgin forest, but of course the native people would have been living here before. The evidence is here. abundance of evidence that the native peoples occupied the site. Some of these artifacts are also uncovered right in the back there, right? So they built this estate. It was the wealthiest cocoa estate in the 19th century. This estate had a reputation for being one of the worst in terms of the treatment of African peoples. The whippings received by Africans, which were registered from 1812 under a special law called the Registration Act. So every year they had to submit the names of Africans on the plantations and so on. By the way, that was a difficult thing to get somehow or the other. La Reconnaissance is not on the database online, is not on the data books in the national museums, nowhere.